Our next speaker, author, speaker, has one of the most talked about TED Talks of all time. Stand up, put your hands together for the one, the only Mr. Simon Sinek.
So you all loved the the Q&A format so much. How would you all love to ask Simon some questions?
That's four people.
Perfect. So you all know his book. You all know the, starting with why, the Golden Circle. What I'm curious about is, what was the catalyst for all that? How did you actually come up with the formula in the first place?
It all started with pain. I fell out of love with my own work. I had a small marketing consultancy, and superficially my life looked really good. I had amazing clients, I made a decent living, we did great work, and our clients liked us. And after a few years of doing that, the novelty of owning a business wears off, and I didn't want to wake up and do it again. But I was so embarrassed that I was unhappy, because superficially things were good, that basically all of my energy went into pretending that I was happier, more successful, and more in control than I actually felt. So all of my energy went into lying, hiding, and faking, which is exhausting. And it was a dark time, quite frankly. I mean, I became totally paranoid and convinced I was going to go out of business and get evicted, just loss of passion, And it wasn't until a very dear friend of mine came to me and was concerned about me, did it give me the courage to admit that I wasn't happy. And as soon as you do that, as soon as I did that, it sort of takes a weight off. It took a weight off, and then I had the courage to find a solution. And there was a confluence of events, and I made this discovery of this naturally occurring pattern that I later called the Golden Circle. And I realized I knew what I did, and I knew how I did it, but I didn't know why. And I became obsessed with it. I discovered my why, and it restored my passion to levels I'd never experienced before. I shared it with my friends, because that's what you do when you find something beautiful. You share it with the people you love, right? And my friends started making crazy life changes. And they would invite me to their homes to share it with their friends, and I would literally stand in someone's apartment in New York City talking about this thing called the why, and then help other people find their why for $100 on the side. And true. And people just kept inviting me to talk about it, and I just kept saying yes.
So the book, Start With Why, beautifully explains what it all is. But for someone in the audience who doesn't know what their why is, how do you go about finding it?
A why is basically an origin story. It's where you come from, right? And we are all the sum total of our upbringing. How we were raised, the experiences we had when we were young, make us who we are today. And the rest of our lives simply offer us opportunities to live in balance with who we naturally are. And so the process for uncovering your why, discovering your why, because it is a process of discovery, not invention. You go backwards and you tell stories. You tell stories of the times in your life that you were in love with what you were doing. You tell stories from your childhood, because we've all had amazing memories of good things and bad things in our lives, but we don't remember everything. There's a significance to the memories we hold on to. They resonate with us. And the process of uncovering your why is about getting enough of those stories that you can actually see a very clear pattern. We've worked very hard to make that process available to as many people as possible. I help people every now and then. We have a team that helps people. We have the online course that people who like to do it that way. Just this week, we came out with a new book called Find Your Why. Does the same thing. And it's always been our vision. We've totally rejected the whole. It's an industry, I hate to say, but we've totally rejected the industry where you have to pay $1,600 to discover these things. I think that's, why exclude most people? So, go online, you can buy the book for like $12, and I love that. I want as many people to find their why as possible.
Does everybody have one?
100%, 100%. If you are a human being and you were raised somewhere, somehow, then you are something and someone. So yes, of course. Every person has one why. It never changes. You are who you are. We are who we are. And as I said, the rest of our lives offer us opportunities to live in balance. Articulating your why makes that process much easier. because you can, business opportunities, personal things, relationships, you can go, yes, that makes sense, that doesn't make sense. I wrote about it as a little analogy, it's a metaphor that I call the celery test that sort of captures the value of learning your why. We're constantly asking for and getting advice from all sorts of people. You come to things like this, you read books, you watch talks online, whatever it is, we're constantly looking for advice on how to improve our lives, our businesses, our careers. The celery test is just that. It's like going to a dinner party and somebody says to you, you know what you need in your life? M&Ms. I did so well with M&Ms, you've got to use M&Ms. And somebody else says to you, rice milk. In this economy, it's all about rice milk. And somebody else says to you, Kit Kats. We've done so well with Kit Kats. And somebody else says to you, it's all about celery. And so you take all this perfectly good advice from perfectly smart people, they're perfectly good case studies, you go to the supermarket, and what do you buy? You buy everything. You buy Kit Kats and M&Ms and celery and rice milk. You spend a lot of time at the supermarket, you spend a lot of money at the supermarket, and you may get some value out of some or all of these products. And the worst part is when you're standing in line waiting to pay, and you have M&Ms and Kit Kats and celery and rice milk, you bought everything, no one can see what you believe, because you bought everything. But imagine you knew your why. And let's say our why is to always be healthy and only do things that protect the health of our bodies. You get all the same advice from all the same people. Now, which products do we buy when we go to the supermarket? It makes the only ones that make sense. So you go and buy rice milk, you go and buy celery, you spend less time, you spend less money, you're guaranteed to get value. You're standing in line at the supermarket with only celery and only rice milk in your arms. Someone can walk past you and now they can see what you believe. They can look at you and say, I can see that you believe in being healthy, so do I. You've just attracted a customer, a client, a friend, a lover. Because everything you're saying and everything you're doing is showing the world who you are. And here's the best part. As soon as I said what the why was, every single person in this room knew which products we were going to buy before I said so. That's called scale. Your ability to articulate your why means other people know how to help you. Other people know who to introduce you to. Other people will know what opportunities to bring to you. Unbelievable efficiency, unbelievable value. The more I talked about what I believed rather than what I did, other people said to me, there's someone you got to meet. And then somebody would say, you got to meet this publisher. You got to meet this CEO. You got to meet this general. I made none of the introductions. Everything was other people who knew what I believed, who knew what they believed, and they introduced us. And that's the value of not only knowing it, because finding your why is just a starting point. Start with why, but it's the ability to use it and communicate it. I became obsessed with it. People would say, what do? You sit on a plane next to someone, somebody says, what do you do? You go to, you go out, you meet someone says, what do you do? I would always tell them what I believed. What I did was academic. I do tons of things. Who cares?
Is your why like a superpower?
No. Your why is not a superpower. It's who you are at your natural best. It doesn't make you more than anything. It makes you who you're supposed to be. And so many of us spend too many of our hours either lying, hiding, and faking, like I was, pretending we're smarter, pretending we're in control, pretending we're successful, pretending we know who we are, but deep down inside, we have no clue, pretending that we got everything under control, right? Or we just go through life just so uncertain of ourselves. The why is not a superpower, it's who we are, it's who we're supposed to be. Not using the why is like it's a subpower, it's a detractor, it's a magnet. Learning your why turns off that sucking energy and turns everything on the way you should be.
It's such brilliant wisdom.
Thank you.
Once you have discovered it, is there a way to go deeper or double down or?
The rest of the life, of course, the whole thing is a journey. I mean, once I learned my why, I went from like 0 to 50 in terms of inspiration, in terms of clarity, in terms of calm. I became unbelievably calm, you know? And the rest of my life for the past decade since I learned it has been constant improvement. 51, 52, 53, 54. Constantly improving, constantly finding new ways, making mistakes and being able to go back and say, I see what I did there, you know? So absolutely, it's kind of like going to the gym. You know, if you want to get into shape, you can't do something once. You can't go to the gym for 9 hours. It doesn't work. But if you go to the gym for 20 minutes every day, you'll absolutely get into shape, right? The problem is it hurts. And going through the why is a lot of energy. Like discovering your why it's work. It's not going to take months. You can do it in hours or days, but it's work. I mean, it's not like, what are the 5 steps to X? It's not some magical formula, right? It requires a little bit of digging. But once you get it, it's magical. And the problem is, once you get into shape, you can't stop going to the gym. Once you get into shape, you actually have to keep going to the gym. However, where you set out to get into shape, the more you work out, you actually start to really love the working out. And this is the same. You may start because you're having a hard time, or you can't get your career going, or you just want to know more about who you are. So there's that effort at the beginning, and then once you get there, you actually really start to enjoy the journey. And the effort becomes nothing. It's like you crave going to the gym, you crave learning more about yourself.
For the record, what is your why?
To inspire people to do the things that inspire them, so together each of us can change our world for the better.
Love it.
And so all of my work captures the concept of inspiration, because it's who I am. You will know something about me by looking at anything that I do. Read a book, watch a talk, listen to an interview, it doesn't matter. Spend some time with me, it's all the same. The highest compliment someone can pay me is, that inspired me. That's why I do this.
If we were speaking out in the future, how would you define the next 2 to 3 years being a success in terms of your mission?
So I consider this a movement, right? And I'm but a humble foot soldier in this movement. The way I like to think about it is like a jigsaw puzzle, right? Which is, you know, when you do a jigsaw puzzle, the first thing you do is you put the box against the wall so you know what you're building, right? And then you start looking for the pieces and putting the pieces into place. Well, I know that my piece of the puzzle, my job, my piece of the puzzle is to point at the box. That's my job, right? I'm out here reminding people what we're building. The world that I imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired to go to work, feel safe when they're there, and return home fulfilled at the end of the day. I'll write and talk about maybe ways to find the pieces, but my primary job is to point at the box. And I'm looking for other people, when they hear that, who want to help build that world, to raise their piece of the jigsaw puzzle and say, I have a piece, I have a piece. So for me, success is more and more people volunteering to raise their hand and say, I would like to contribute to that vision of the world. Whether they're working for a company, in which case they demand of their leaders to create an environment where we feel that we can be our natural selves, where we can feel that we can be ourselves. Whether you're in a position of authority, that you have the responsibility to create an environment in which people can feel they can be themselves. And if you get neither of those things, that you at least try to become the leader you wish you had by taking care of the person to the left of you and taking care of the person to the right of you and working hard every day, that they go home feeling safe, feeling that they love their work. I'm looking for more and more volunteers to join the Army.
So why don't we actually start Q&A? Is Nick there? Cool.
Does this work? Yes. You guys know the drill? Yeah.
There's 2 lines.
Your shoes. She has sparkle shoes on. I love them.
Hi, Simon. My name is Daniel Belak. I'm 18 years old, and my why is to empower youth to be the best they can be at whatever they choose to do. And my question for you today is, as I've seen your millennial talk, 5, 10, 15 times, but millennials are not Generation Z. Generation Z is 1995, 2009. And so I want to know, do you have any advice and or tips for the youth that are going to be growing up in this technology field?
So whether it's Generation Z, whether it's Generation Y, millennials, or older generations, I think that we are all susceptible to, because I believe that the world is about balance, right? And the responsibility is to keep things in balance. Technology is amazing, but it can go out of balance, which is what I talked about in that millennial talk, right? Like alcohol is fine, you just can't do too much. Gambling's fun, but not when you're wasting your kid's college education, right? It's about balance. And so I think there needs to be a conscious effort to get us to spend time with each other like this, right? To get us to take care of each other, to consciously put our devices away when we're at a table with people, eating with them, regardless of their age. Like, it's not like mom and dad get to talk to each other and we give the iPad to the kid to play games while he's at dinner. We have to teach the skills of human interaction and empathy and caring, and if we don't talk to each other, we don't listen to each other, we don't care about each other, then those skills will literally go away. And we see that happening. We're starting to see, in the United States, the single largest increase of suicides of any demographic is girls 10 to 15 years old. The suicides amongst girls 10 to 15 has tripled in the past 15 years. Right? Remember what suicide is. Suicide is an act of loneliness. And so if that many kids are feeling more and more lonely, what are we doing to counteract it? We got to put devices away and take care of each other, and sit with each other, and enjoy each other's company. We could have done this by video conference. You could have had my face up there, and I could have sat at my home in New York, but would it feel the same? Now imagine when it's just a few people sitting around a table. So I think we have to consciously work very, very hard to ensure that the youngest generation and all the generations are above are working hard to spend time with each other and be totally, totally present. Yeah. And at the risk of going too long, it drives me nuts. I had a meeting, and there was a woman sitting next to me who was apparently a big-time yoga instructor. And she was on her phone the entire time. And I was looking. It's not like there was a family emergency. She was on Instagram and Facebook. I was watching, right? And at some point, she looked up and said, "That's why I love yoga. It helps me be present." And that's when I realized that you don't get to decide when you're present. You are present when somebody else says you are. Right? So when somebody says to you, "Thank you for listening to me. I feel heard. It's nice to spend time with you." That is an acknowledgement that you were present. And you have to work damn hard and learn the skills about being present, but you don't get to decide when you're present. And that's what we have to do.
Hi, Simon. Jocelyn Duffy. I help people clarify their unique voice and communicate powerful personal messaging for the betterment of humanity. So I find fascination with the unique composite of experiences that we have as human and spiritual beings. So to that extent, I'm curious how a cynic became an eternal optimist.
Hey. Oh, that was punny. That was punny.
I think it's because my mom dropped me in my head when I was a baby. I think optimism is a choice, you know? I've been in a position in my life where I've chosen to see the darkness. And it's just nicer and better to see light. And I really do believe it's a choice. Now, for some people where there's a clinical problem, that's different. I'm not talking about clinical depressions here, right? I'm talking about generally when we go through life, we can choose to interpret the way things go through dark or light. A friend of mine who's a big optimist, his name's Bob Chapman, the way his kids describe him is that he can walk into a room and see a pile of shit, and he'll look up and go, "Ooh, where's the pony?" That's optimism. You know, life shits on you and you go, "There's a lesson for me here." You know, you have a horrible breakup and you go, "What can I do better next time?" You know, and I think that's a choice.
Thank you.
My name is Rajni, and my son, he's 18 years old. He's a huge, huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
He just introduced me to you last week. And I'm here just simply because of you. Okay, and basically, I've lived an amazing life. I'm a very positive person generally, but about 8 months ago, I got diagnosed with cancer. And for the last 8 months, I've been in surgery, in chemo, and right now I'm going through radiation. And my son looked at me last week and he said, Mom, you should be giving it 150%. You should wake up and fight this every single day. You should be, going to bed asking, have you done everything you can? Why aren't you? It's because you don't know your why. All right, and I've been thinking about this for the last 1 week, and I'm like, okay, I'm in a life and death situation in some ways. Like I was told, I had 50% chance of 10 years.
Sure.
I should know my why. Like, why is not just like I want to beat cancer.
Sure.
It's something that makes me propel out, and I can't seem to find it, and I'm like puzzled as to like, why the heck not? Why am I not giving it 150%? Why can't I feel motivated to find my why? That's my question.
I'm probably not qualified to understand the emotions that you must be going through. And for me to simply say, do this, I think devalues your experience, quite frankly. But I know from other friends who've gone through this, that the thing that has helped them get through it is not only their sense of humor, but their opportunity to serve others. And I know the science behind fulfillment and the science behind deep joy and inspiration, and it comes not from worrying about ourselves, it comes from worrying about others. It comes from thinking about how can you use your experience to teach your son about optimism, not how can you use your experience for you to find the will to be optimistic. Like remember, you have a boy here who's going to grow up into something. What stories will he tell of his mother who had cancer when he's older? And what lessons he learned, and he's the person who he is because of the example that you set for him. And if you treat your experience as service to your son, I think you will easily find that inspiration.
Hi, Simon. First of all, thank you for being here. I'm extremely grateful. Been a big follower. I often share your quotes on Instagram to my local communities because you speak very eloquently. My question is regarding leadership, and I think slightly a different dynamic than we've been talking about it. One of my first mentors ever explained to me that leadership, good leaders have years of experience and wisdom. And I'd like to consider myself an ambitious young person who'd love to be a leader to people one day. And my approach has been one of, I've had my own experiences, but I don't think enough to, put myself on the scale of people that I look up to. But what I am fascinated by is the idea of knowledge mobilization, so speaking to people who have that experience but don't necessarily have the time to communicate it and trying to be the voice for them. But I'm just curious about your thoughts on that in relation to leadership, and is that a type of leadership?
It's a very narrow definition to say that good leaders have experience to share wisdom, because I know some people who've got a lot of experience and they're pretty crappy leaders. And I know some pretty dynamic leaders who have only a little bit of experience. Leadership has nothing to do with how many years or how much rank. Leadership is a service to others. It's waking up every day and figuring out ways how you can help those around you be at their natural best. That is what leadership is. Now, experience affords you more opportunities to try and fail and learn a lesson. Experience offers you more opportunities to try something new, get it right, and be like, I got to do that one again. That's what experience offers you, right? But I know of no one who's an expert in leadership. I only know of students. Some are more advanced, and some may have more to offer only through their own experiences, as you said. But the opportunity to be a good leader, even a great leader, is waking up every single day and thinking, how do I take care of the person to the left and the person to the right? How do I ensure that the people with whom I work go home every day feeling fulfilled and inspired? And literally learning, watching, reading, talking, everything a student would do. And I've had the opportunity to spend some time with some amazing leaders who have rank also. And when I sit down with them, the thing that I'm always struck by every single one of them is they have an appetite to learn more. They're constantly reading and talking about the subjects. They're constantly giving advice to each other and asking, I'm in this situation, what would you do? Or they think out loud. They're always students. So I think widen the definition. It's about the person you choose to show up as, not how many years you've been doing it.
Thank you.
Because that would mean every 21-year-old isn't allowed to be a leader, which is, of course, nonsense.
Hi, Simon. Vlad here, Coach Vlad. Huge fan, been following you for like 5 years. Thank you so much for creating the amazing book and platform for us to really fulfill our purpose.
Thank you.
So my why is to improve people's quality of life, and in everything that I do, I represent that. And I'm amazed, even just right now, what happened here, how your skill set and just your innate ability to connect with people and be able to give them, some of your wisdom and some of your experience. So question is, what are some of the habits that you have personally to make sure that that tool that you have in your arsenal is always sharp, that you're able to really connect to people?
So the most important thing is, this is deeply personal for me, right? It was never a commercial or academic exercise. It was something that was my life. And it was never supposed to be anything more than my life. It was a tool that I found for me. And when I shared it with my friends, it helped the people I love. And I came to the realization that if I can completely find a passion that I never had in the past, that means everyone can. Because I'm still the same idiot as I was back then. Like, nothing's changed, The only thing that's changed is that I start from a different place. I start with why I do what I do. That's it, right? And so I came to the realization that something called fulfillment, deep joy, love, is a right and not a privilege. And we treat it like it's a privilege. Like we go out with a group of friends for dinner, somebody says, I love my job, and everybody goes, oh my God, you're so lucky. Like they won something, right? And every single one of us is entitled to that feeling. And so for me, I show up to do that. Like, I show up to give. 100% of the talks that I give, literally 100%, whether it's a small audience or a large audience, before I come out, I will say, often out loud to myself, you're here to give. It's a reminder. You can always tell when someone shows up to give or someone shows up to take. Because takers show up, and the first thing they do is they tell you all their credentials. Then they put up on the screen their Twitter handles, their Instagram handle, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, and they ask you ask them a question, they go, you can find that in my book. They're takers. They're showing up because they want something. They want you to follow them, they want you to buy from them, they want you to love them, they want you to applaud them. I show up for nothing else but to give. I don't care if you follow me, I don't care if you buy a book, nothing. Right? I put it out there to give for anyone who wants it, anyone who will listen. And if you do buy any of those things, you do enjoy any of those things, all I ask is share. If it's a quote you like and you think it'll help someone, give it away. If you've finished your copy, hand it to somebody else. And so the 100% of the time, I remind myself, because I'm human, I get tired, I get grumpy, right? I remind myself you're here to give.
Hi, Simon. My name is Estelle, and in playing with my best friend's children 2 weeks ago, 3 and a 4-year-old, they couldn't stop asking why about every little thing. And
it's annoying, isn't it?
It could be, and it was nostalgic for me because I was that child myself. But we discouraged that, and I noticed how my friend was dealing with it, and I remembered how I was treated being the white child. But as you evolve and you grow, my question is, could your why change, or are you spending your life just refining that one why, or could you just bounce from one why to the other?
Yeah. So again, your why is an origin story. You are who you are. We are who we are. Your why never changes, right? Some people think tragedy changes your why. No, it doesn't. Tragedy sometimes forces you to hold a mirror up and realize that you've been living out of balance for all of these years, and tragedy now forces you to focus towards the right direction, right? Your why, you are who you are. There's nothing in your life that will make you change who you are. You are the sum total of your upbringing, of your experiences as a child, right? And the rest of our lives don't change our why. They offer us opportunities to live in balance with that why.
Thank you.
Hi, Simon. I've loved your books. Thank you so much for being here today. My name's Leanne Kim, and I run a networking group for mama entrepreneurs, and my why is to help others grow, succeed, and feel amazing. And my question for you is, and maybe you've just answered this, it's a little bit different. What advice do you have for people who feel like they've hit a wall, or maybe they've lost their why?
Yeah. Ask for help. Like, we don't build trust when we offer help to someone. We build trust when we ask for help from someone. Asking for help is an incredibly difficult, vulnerable experience. To admit that you don't know, to admit that you feel weak, to admit that you're stuck, that you've hit a wall, is so, so vulnerable, right? And to go to someone sheepishly and say, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. And very often, we don't need anybody to solve our problems. We don't want them to fix our problems. We just want them to listen. We can so often solve our own problems as long as we can get that weight off of our shoulders, because what happens is all we do is think about how stuck we are. We're consumed about the wall. And as soon as we get to say out loud to somebody, I hit a wall, all of a sudden we can think about the thing on the other side of the wall. So you have to give yourself permission to look over or around or under or through the wall, but you gotta tell someone, you gotta ask someone. Physically, not over a text. Because when we text somebody, like, I hit a wall, you know, they're in the supermarket when they got your text. Oh, that really sucks. You want someone to listen to you.
Hello. Sorry, I'm excited. My name is Claire, and I'm from with the UFT group all the way up. Woo! They actually introduced me to you. So my question is, when you were in 20s, like every other high school and post-secondary students in the crowd right now, who is your support system at that time? And can you share some examples how you helped them back?
Say again, help who?
Your support system.
My support system?
Yeah, when you were in your 20s, who was your support system? And how did you help them back? Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same as you. I mean, in my 20s, it was my friends, right? I'm also very, very close with my sister. My sister's always, always, always honest with me. You know, she keeps me very, very grounded. No matter what I do or accomplish, she reminds me, like. So my sister, did you ever read the book or see the movie Catch Me If You Can? Yeah. Okay, so my sister calls me Frank Abagnale, right? Because I'll be like, you'll never believe what happened today. I met General Blah-de-Blah at the Pentagon. And she'd be like, who are you, Frank Abagnale? Like I'm some con artist, and like none of them have figured it out yet, you know? But I think the people who are the most valuable to me are the ones who tell me the truth and don't let me get away with anything. Because, you know, we all try to get away with something, you know? And we all like blaming other people. Have you ever broken up or been broken up with someone? Right?
Yes.
It's happened, right? What do? It's their fault. It's their fault that I have to end it with you. It's their fault that they're breaking up with me every single time, right? Here's one thing I know about all my failed relationships. There's only one thing in common to all my failed relationships. Right? So that's not to say other people don't contribute, but we have to take responsibility. And so sometimes we're blind because it's easier to blame other people. It's hard to take responsibility. And so the people who I love are the ones who don't let me get away with anything. Sometimes they hold the truth up in front of me, or sometimes they force me to come to that truth myself.
And we have a second part because she's repping for the whole group back there.
Oh, part 2, okay.
Oh, I combined them.
Oh, you combined
Yeah.
Oh, she already combined it. Yay! Awesome, thanks.
Perfect.
Hey, Simon. My name is Ryan. I wanted to ask you...
Can you talk a little closer to the mic?
Is this better?
Much better, thank you.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask you, my life flipped upside down 3 years ago, and it's been a really great gift. But it made me start asking questions. And when it comes to finding your why, how do you answer that when I feel like the answer is being inhibited by my past, my upbringing, whether it's your religious values, your parents, your culture, your life experiences?
Yeah.
I almost feel like, obviously the journey will lead me to the answer, but
Yeah.
what advice do you have so that you can find that answer?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we all have a narrative, and we treat sometimes whatever it is as a shackle, right? It's just a detail. And you can see it as a gift or something that's virtuous, but it's a narrative. It helps form a narrative, and we can't let go of the past, right? So I'll give you a little fun way to find your why. It'll get you in the ballpark, right? It's called the friends exercise. I want you to call, or you can do it in person, the friends who you love. You can't do it with a spouse, you can't do it with a significant other, you can't do it with a family member because it's too close. But the friends who you love, the ones that you know without a doubt that if you were to call them at 3 o'clock in the morning, they would 100% answer the phone and be there for you. That if they were to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, 100% you'd pick up. Like those friends. And I want you to ask them the simple question: why are we friends? And they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Because you're asking them to put into words something that exists in the part of the brain that doesn't control language. It's a feeling. And so they're going to go like this. They're going to be like, I don't know. Like, why are you asking me this? It's not that they don't know. It's that they don't have the words. And then interestingly, you stop asking the question why. And you start asking the question what. It just works better. And you say, come on, what is it about me that I know that you'd be there for me no matter what? And they'll go, oh, man, I don't know. And they'll start describing you. I don't know. I trust you, you're funny, you've always been there for me. And you'd be like, you have to play devil's advocate. You can't help them and you can't let anybody else help them. You go, good, that's the definition of a friend. What is it about me that I know you'd be there forever? And they'll describe some more about things you do, and they'll complain. And you'll play devil's advocate again, and you'll say, that's the definition of a close friend. What is it about me? And eventually, some people quicker, some people slower, eventually they'll give up. And they'll start describing themselves. And this is what my friend said to me. My friend said, Simon, I don't know. All I know is I can be in the same room as you. I don't even have to talk to you. And I get inspired. And I got goosebumps. Because what they'll eventually do is describe your value in their life. And you will either get, I'm getting them right now. You will either get goosebumps or you'll have an emotional reaction like you'll well up with tears because they are putting into words who you are. And that's your value to everyone in the world. And what you will find is that your friends, if you do this multiple times, eventually they will all come to the same conclusion, sometimes even use the exact same words, because you fulfill a certain need in their life. Your value is the thing that they need, and that is your why. That's the thing that you're responsible to give to everyone, including yourself, right? So try that. Try that. It'll get you in the ballpark.
Hi, Simon. Swada here. And my reason why I'm here is...
Put the mic a little...
The reason I'm here is my family and friends, actually, that believe so much in me. I encourage them by the way, how I live my life, and just go for things that come to me. So the question, it's very simple. Before you shared that we all hold one piece of the puzzle that could be part of your big vision. My friends and family and I believe that I might have that piece. So how can I connect with you or your organization directly?
The interweb works really well.
Okay.
We're easy to get hold of. We're easy to get hold of if you want to reach out. The more important thing to me is that what are you doing to build the movement around you? Like people say to me all the time, what can I do for you, Simon? And my answer is do it. Go do it. Like I can't be everywhere. And I can't know everyone. And just like an army, like we need leaders throughout the entire organization to take care of smaller groups. So I need you to join me and preach the vision. If you know something that can help people move closer, help them. If you want to help them discover their piece of the puzzle, help them. Like if you want to volunteer and be an officer in this army, then we'll take you.
Okay.
But but I need you to just go do it. Whether it's formally or informally, whether it's connected with us or not, is irrelevant. What's most important is that you're doing it.
The weird thing
because
is...
it happens where people say, we want to connect with you and work with you, and whatever, it doesn't work out, and they go, well, then we're not helping you.
No.
Well, then you never believed in it in the first place.
Yes. The reason is that last couple of days I had a dream, and it was very unusual.
Did you say a dream?
Dream, yes.
Okay.
And I don't dream often, so I was in a place...
I dreamt I was a hamburger last night.
Not that kind of dream. So I was in a place where my all belongings were taken away, so nothing stayed with me. And the next person that appears was actress Meryl Streep. And she looks at me and she said, oh, I see you have a Simon's bracelet. I'm like, excuse me. And I look and there was a bracelet on my hand. So it was very powerful. I don't know what it stands or means.
I mean, maybe you should reach out to Meryl Streep, not me.
But it was Simon's bracelet. Yes,
we have
thank you.
4 more minutes. So
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
Thank
take maybe
you.
2 more questions.
Really? Okay, I'm Tiss, and having a little trouble not holding the mic because I have a control
I can't hear you. There we
my
go.
name is Tiss, and
Hi.
my why is authentically connecting with people and then connecting them with one another, and it's something I'm feel really good about. Anyway, I've heard you talk a lot about millennials and how to get to them, and that's been really helpful for me in the workplace. Thank you. And you talk a lot about how we as consumers are receiving so much information. I have a unique problem it's probably not unique, in my organization, in that it's the older generation that's not really understanding that shift in how people receive information and how they want to receive information.
Sure.
So do you have any thoughts around influencing them and getting them to understand the power of consumer engagement in a new way?
Sure, ignore them. It's like, I don't care what age they are, I don't care if they're young, I don't care if they're old. If they're closed-minded and not open to changing their ways, then there's no amount of energy that you can invest that would be worth it, right? You're gonna spend all of that time to convince someone who's gonna go across begrudgingly. I'd rather you invest all of that energy and bring thousands of people with you because they're open to your message. And eventually, that other person will come along, right? It's the law of diffusion. We want the early adopters, we want the innovators, but those laggards, they'll come or they won't come. And by the way, I hold no grudge against them. I don't think they're bad people. It just means they come slower. Long time ago, when I was just starting this whole thing and I used to do sort of why consulting, somebody got my name from somebody else and they called me up and they said, I've heard that you're good at this stuff. Convince me why I should hire you. And I had no money or anything, right? So every dime mattered. He said, convince me why I should hire you. And my answer was, don't. Because if you're going to force me to prove to you why you should start working with me, then guess what's going to happen every single time I have an idea to help you? I'm not interested. And it's not that I'm angry. I don't think the person's a bad person. He's not ready. I'll get him later. Ignore him. What you have to do is preach and preach and preach and preach, but you convince no one and you demand no one make changes. You simply preach and invite. Everyone's invited to join at their own time.
Okay, and this is the last question. Thank you, everybody.
Hi there, Simon. My name is Richard from Calgary, Alberta. First time in Toronto. Thank you for your work. It's so good that it's ruined my life.
Thank you. How do you think I feel?
And after discovering you and Gary Vaynerchuk, you guys are on opposite ends. And he's agreed that he disagrees with I guess the mindset, I don't know. And I am stuck in the middle. I am a 85 baby. I consider myself a millennial. born without technology and then grew up with technology. So again. And it's just, I'm struggling with connecting with people in general.
Sure.
And it's kind of led me to a dark place here to save myself from myself. Sure. And yeah, I don't know, your thoughts?
Sure. We'll end with a light question. So Gary agrees with me more than he thinks. And here's what Gary's doing, right? Which is, I'm pointing out challenges. And Gary says, he's wrong, they're great. And I say, I agree. I completely agree. I think everything Gary says is correct. But everything is balanced. Everything is balanced. There's a cost for everything. Time, money, energy. There's a cost for every decision we make. Right? And so yes, of course I love technology. I think technology is amazing. I wish somebody would stop saying, but we can connect with people over the world. I know, isn't it amazing? But you don't need to connect with somebody all over the world when you're sitting across a table from someone. Balance. Balance. Right? I think the young millennial generation of this young generation of workers are unbelievable. Right? I think they have an open-mindedness that every generation older than them doesn't have. They're so accepting of people's sexuality. They're so accepting of people's gender identity. It's a big nothing, right? They don't care what you wear or what you want to call yourself. It's only something that old white men worry about, right? I think this young generation, quite rightfully so, is the first generation to demand that the places they work create an environment where they want to come to and feel fulfilled and a part of something bigger than themselves. Older generations suffer in silence. However, jumping from job to job to job to job every 3 months may not be the solution. Balance. So of course I think this generation's wonderful. What I'm trying to illustrate is that there are challenges to all generations. And instead of shitting on millennials and calling them entitled or lazy, all the other things that people say of them, I want people to have empathy, which is have a little understanding of how they grew up, and you'll understand why they see the world the way they see the world, or some of the challenges and struggles they may have. It's just an exercise in empathy, right? It's like your grandfather is a miser. Well, it's because he grew up during the Great Depression. There's nothing wrong with him. But if you knew that, you'd be like, oh, okay. It's called empathy. It's understanding where someone comes from. And that whole little diatribe that I went on was simply an exercise in empathy, which is instead of criticizing the entire generation, let's try and understand a generation. And by the way, maybe help them understand themselves. Of course, every generation brings its own value. So I think Gary and I, or at least I agree with Gary more than he maybe thinks I do. I think he's right in everything he said, and, right? It's about balance. In terms of you feeling stuck in the middle, I mean, I can't unpack that. For me, like being the weirdo, because I'm the weirdo, you know, I'm the introvert, I'm an introvert. Like all of the social interaction stuff is exhausting to me. Like at the end I will be exhausted, right? That's the best definition. By the way, introversion has nothing to do with social awkwardness. That's a different thing. Introverts wake up in the morning with 5 coins, and every social interaction they spend a coin, and at the end of the day, they're depleted. Extroverts wake up in the morning with no coins, and every social interaction, they get a coin, and at the end, they're like, yes! like, extroverts spend time with people, and all they want to do is spend more time with people. Introverts spend time with people, and all they want to do is go home and sit by themselves and watch TV. Or maybe just one person. Shh, one person. You know, find the other freaks, is what I say. Comic-Con was great for me. There's nothing better than dressing in spandex and hanging out with other people in spandex. It's just the best. So find your tribe. Find your tribe.
Simon, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone, Simon Sinek.